JB, what an improvement in that chair today, or in that other box, JB. Wait, you're not JB, are you?
I am not JB. Not even close. Not in my AirPods. Not in my stature. Not in my football performance.
wait, who's better in the football performance is the question.
Well, we'll have to go back and look at some stats. I think we'll have to go to the archives for that.
Oh God, we'll have to dust off the leather helmets and everything else too. Oh gosh, I was talking to Jim Gallardi, our friend over at St. John's yesterday, and always great talking with him. And we're working on things to maybe improve some of the stuff related to the Gallardi Trophy, which get your nominees in, coaches and ADs and SIDs out there. It's getting to that time where you got to be prepared for it, get the video ready, and everything else. But I was thinking about it. Did you ever coach or play against a John Gallardi team? I was wondering.
No, I've played against St. John, coached against St. John's, but it was after Coach Gallardi. It was with Coach Fashing. So, no, I've not had the chance to play, but they were, when I was playing in college, that was a team that everybody talked about a lot. It's about the time the Sports Illustrated article came out about, no stretching and, no mandatory weightlifting. We're all looking at our coaches, why are you making us do that? And they told us because we were 5-5. So we had work to do.
Yeah, good point. Okay, fair points there. So, Kat, here, for those that don't know, this is Coach Jim Catanzaro, Lake Forest head coach, who we're lucky to have with us for various reasons. First off, how you feeling? Because a lot of folks out there know you had a little bit of a stint there after a game a few weeks back, and I get a text from your wife next day, and that's not as bad as it sounds, folks, but she basically said they took away your mobile devices and let you focus on yourself. How are you?
I'm doing well, and just to be clear, it was not a stint. I did not have a heart issue, so I don't want anybody to get too worried about that. But it was I got sick, and that was the fault of mine for not, listening to some of the body's early warning signs, and got to spend some time at Northwestern Hospital, and they got me healed up and ready, and didn't miss a game. So I feel pretty fortunate that way. It was the unfortunate part was me and my starting quarterback were 3 floors apart from one another. He was hurt, and I was sick, so we spent 4 days in the hospital together, and finally got ourselves out, and we're back to getting stuff taken care of.
At some point, they gave you your iPad back, and did you do film study with them on the iPad at the hospital?
Yeah, I was kind of fortunate. I had a doctor who, for better or worse, was a University of Chicago grad. I say better or worse since they're in our conference. And he's a big football junkie, and he sees me in there watching Huddle, and he's like, so what do you do for a living? And I kind of go, well, it's funny you should mention that. And so we had a good talk, and I think our players had their notes by, maybe Wednesday. A little bit later is the bye week, so it's kind of worked out that it was our bye week, and I was able to take the time to get rested. You always talk about getting your team recovered during your bye week, and I think this year was for the coach. So we'll be better moving forward.
There you go. So listen, at this stage of the show normally, and again, good to have you back and healthy here. You look good. You lost some weight, obviously, and I know it sucks to lose it that way, but you look good, so I'm happy to see that at least. But at this stage of the show, we usually do some video offerings from our various teams across the country. And so we're going to start with it's Halloween week coming up, and Rowan asked their players to talk about their best ever Halloween costume. For the ones that are kind of like the narrow ones on the screen, we'll be seeing our reaction. So be prepared. We're on camera when this starts up in a second here. So when you give a belly laugh, people will hear it. Here we go.
I went as a big present, and I was God's gift to women.
My best costume was Garfield because I like lasagna. Shout out, Mom.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Funky Kong.
Macho Man.
Nacho Libre.
Jesus!
I want to be the Limu Emu.
Cowboy.
Grandbox.
Jack Sparrow.
Bobby Boucher.
Brian Stanton.
Noah Battle.
Best Halloween costume is Brick Sellers.
The best Halloween costume is the garlic knot. If you know, you know.
Best Halloween costume like I've ever done? Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
Costume was Batman. I was Batman 3 years in a row. Same costume.
The best one I had was Thomas the Tank Engine.
I'd say the best one I had was either Alan from The Hangover or Wolverine last year.
That's pretty good.
The Tank Engine. Yeah. Hey, listen, Whitewater, you got a pretty good game going on there, and they've got some big games coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that as the show goes along. We've got.
Well, the question begs. Hang on, Frank.
Okay.
Now, hang on. What was your best Halloween costume?
Listen, I have a natural Eddie Munster look, so it was a vampire, obviously. Come on, like Dracula vampire. That's an easy one. What was yours? Go ahead.
Vladimir from The Program, the movie The Program. It was all the face paint, all the stuff. It was pretty good.
So moving right along here, we have a Misericordia guest up first. Gavin Morris will be joining us. Apologies to Jacob Hunter, the quarterback. I didn't realize that we had a late switcheroo go on there, but he is in this video that we're about to see. So at least we'll get a Jacob Hunter sighting in this. But we're going to talk about something you love, and we'll have a little fun with this after, because the week that you got sick, you seemed to, partake in something I advertised on Twitter. But first, let's talk about fast food for Misericordia. Who they're going to start, bench, or cut?
Start Wendy's, bench Burger King, and cut McDonald's.
Start McDonald's, bench Burger King, cut Wendy's.
You start Wendy's because you can't beat a biggie bag. Bench McDonald's because the fries are electric, and you're cutting Burger King because they're just not as good.
Starting Wendy's, we're benching McDonald's, and we're gonna bench Burger King. We're cutting McDonald's. McDonald's is mid.
It's easy. Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's, cut Burger King.
The big man talking.
Start McDonald's, bench Burger King, cut Wendy's.
Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's, and cut Burger King.
Start McDonald's. Bench Wendy's, cut Burger King. Yeah.
Oh, this low-key might be crazy. Cut McDonald's, bench Burger King, I'm starting Wendy's.
Bro, that is insane.
Start McDonald's, benching Wendy's, cutting Burger King.
Cut Burger King, bench McDonald's, start Wendy's.
Start Wendy's, bench McDonald's, cut Burger King.
Break this down for you.
You gonna cut Burger King? Yeah. Smash inside the pocket. Yeah. I'm gonna start Wendy's because it's a different budget. Actually, no, we're McDonald's got the volume in it. So we're gonna start McDonald's. We bench Wendy's.
No, it was a 4 for 4 and Biggie Bag.
Start Wendy's, bench McDonald's, cut Burger King. Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's, you cut Burger King.
Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's,
Cut Burger King.
I'm starting Wendy's, benching McDonald's, cutting Burger King.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cut Burger King.
Okay.
Bench Wendy's, start McDonald's.
I'm not mad at it. I like that. Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's, cut Burger King.
Start Wendy's, bench McDonald's, cut Burger King. Start McDonald's, bench Wendy's, cut BK. Bench them all, McDonald's, bench Wendy's, cut Burger King.
I'm starting Wendy's, and I'm benching McDonald's, and I'm cutting Burger King.
I'm starting McDonald's, benching Wendy's, and cutting Burger King.
Start Wendy's
Don't like Burger King.
Start Wendy's because I used to work there. Bench Burger King and cut McDonald's.
It's a hell of a reason. I would have thought you would have cut the fast food joint you formerly worked for, but apparently he has that loyalty there. So what did you eat the weekend before, or a couple of days before you got into the hospital? Ultimately,
Come on, man! Don't they sponsor D3 Bowl game? We don't want to get them in trouble right now, but there was definitely some Culver's had, and that did. I don't think it was the Culver's. We'll definitely say that.
Not the Culvers. I'm hoping that's
Culvers.
true. Although I think you were trying to put the blame on me a little bit with the whole thing. So we'll just go with that. But Misericordia must be agreeing about a lot of things, not their fast food choices, because they are having one hell of a season. Gavin Morris in the queue, saw him laughing at his teammates in the background there. We'll have him on the other side of our intro. Finally, game I'm attending. Well, funny story about the game I'm attending this week. I put in my email yesterday. I'm like, hey, I'm coming. Can I have a sideline pass? First time in 30 years, the answer is no to Rowan. Apparently, they have some pretty strict policies, but our guy, Pat Ruley, said basically, look, I want you there, so we're making it work still. And I appreciate Coach Ruley. He's brought a real breath of fresh air over there at Rowan and doing a fantastic job. And they're going to be facing Salisbury. Talk about that game in a little bit as well, obviously. But here is a mic'd up series they're doing. Eunice Bacula is they're mic'd up this week, and let's hear what he has to say.
No new characters.
Nah, so. But realistically, I can play every position. Probably besides O-line and like D-tackle. I can play D on everything else. He was mic'd up, right?
Word.
And what I tell you?
Okay, what'd you tell me?
I said, who gonna have more points?
All right.
See what happened?
Not that it matters. In the NJAC, there's leading scorers. So if Adi's leading Rowan right now.
No, but we both got 7. That's what a lot of people don't know. Light colored gloves help you catch better. And when you wear black or dark gloves.
I think he dropped one last game, didn't he? Can we play that clip?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie.
He did.
I was at my feet though. Oh, I said, what up though? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right.
More aura.
For me? How? The mic?
And the tattoos are out now. And the tattoos are out.
Tattoos is out though. Yeah, they hit different. See, you might think I'm tired. I don't get tired though, that's the thing. Everyone gonna be out here, so make sure you come out here and show love, all right? Especially the 2-8. There you go.
I'll be showing love to 2-8 and a whole bunch of others tomorrow in Glassboro, New Jersey for that big game as well. They can make some noise for sure in the NJAC. Salisbury is ruling the roost again, but who knows if somebody trips up here. It's been that kind of season, Kat, with only 10 undefeated teams left, Salisbury being one of them, and we're guaranteed to lose one this week with Wartburg Central. We'll have Wartburg guest Connor Grover joining us as well, who had an INT in his game against Loris on last Saturday. Any final thoughts on, have you mic'd up players? I've never seen you guys put that kind of effort into the social media stuff. Are you going to up your game so you get a little in the huddle coverage here?
I mean, Frank, you're just not paying attention. We had 5 different mic'd up videos this year, so we've definitely got it out there. I think you've been slacking on your Midwest coverage. Maybe that isn't that the theme out there? Little East Coast bias. Hey, but when you go to Rowan, Croce's on Delcia. I'm just telling you right now. Got to get your sandwich there.
Okay. Good to know. I do have to jet after the game back to New York City to ref some flag football on Saturday night, but I've got to eat at some point, so we'll see what I do with it. I will get that firm recommendation from you again later via text. But first, folks, you're watching Friday Live here on In the Huddle for week number 8. This is season 18 of In the Huddle. In the Huddle here, folks, season 18, Jim Catanzaro, head coach of Lake Forest, joining me in the pinch hit role for JB this week. And, Coach, we have got some great games we're going to talk about here, some great guests we're going to interview. Let's start by going through Region 1 and then bring in our guest since he is a Region 1 person. And if you told me that we'd be talking about this game as the key game in the MAC this year, I would have looked at you like you had taken some kind of illicit substance of some sort. It's Eastern at Misericordia, both at 5-1. Misericordia 5-0 in the MAC. JB's game of the week, battle for first place in the MAC. Huge game. More about it in a second. USMMA against Springfield. That's a big new MAC game. We'll talk about standings later on, but that's my alternative game of the week here. And Trinity at Bowdoin, because why not? Trinity, it's a long road trip against the Polar Bears. And, hey, they did stun Wesleyan, and that caught a lot of people's attention last week, but that's that kind of year in the NESCAC. But Kat, if you had to pick one of these 3 games, what's your game of the week if we were to put your beautiful face on one of these?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to the Springfield Merchant Marine game. That's going to be a true hard hitting game where you're going to have people, in a very smash mouth. Both teams are going to run the football probably 50 times a game, and there's something beautiful about that. I would be glad to not be a defensive coordinator in that game defending the triple option, but watching 2 teams who run the triple very well, who are having pretty good success this year, that would be a game that I would want to type in for.
Also, just to look at the undercard here, Del Val Stevenson is not the prime matchup, and one of those teams is going to go to 3-3 in the MAC as long as there's not a tie. I feel like I have to add that now after the Rowan Case Western situation that ties are possible still in D3. Maybe not for long after what that's doing to everything right now. But everything else here is kind of mid-level matchups and lower level matchups. But Eastern Misericordia, that's the story here. Where did they come from? A lot of people want to know. I think we're going to ask the person that might have the best answer for that right now. Let's bring in Gavin Morris, senior linebacker for Misericordia. Gavin, thanks for coming in here and joining us. You, sir, when I was looking at your stats for your career, you're unbelievable. I believe somewhere in the 233 tackle number for your career. That's insane, and over 100 last season. I guess part of the answer to the question of where did they come from is Gavin Morris. But what is going on over there? How did you guys get this thing turned around to this degree where you got a game you're going to be hosting this weekend that is pretty much, if you win it, it's going to take a lot to knock you out of the ability to win the MAC?
Yeah, so I think it all started when Coach Cushing came in. Coach Cushing came in and set a new culture right away. We all had to focus on our inputs rather than the outputs, and we didn't let little things slip through the cracks ever. So he's just really focusing on every little detail, no matter what it is. And I feel like that really helps because I feel as if we've always had the players to contend for a MAC championship, but now we have the coaches that scheme it up where we can play to our highest potential.
Yeah, and Gavin, one of the things, you went to Misericordia as a dual sport athlete, running track and playing football. And then it seems like after your freshman year, you kind of flipped to one sport, and that's where your production in football really started to take off. Was there, stuff that going through spring ball or things of that nature that started to get there, or more of a focus to one sport? As a guy who played, multiple sports, I remember the challenge switching from one to the other. So how did that transition go for you?
Well, so I never ran track before other than my freshman year of college. The track coach said, "Oh, you look pretty fit there on the field. Why don't you try it out?" I was bored, had a lot of free time, so me and my roommate, we went out and ran. I wasn't the best. My goal was to just not get last in every race, but it definitely made my play on the football field a lot better. I got a lot faster. It was just really hard, like balancing school, football, like spring ball, and track practice and lift all at the same time. So I knew football is where I had to be. So I just had to put track on the back burner so I could play football.
Well, the speed is obviously helping. I mean, you don't just accidentally get 200 tackles and change in your career, and you still have games to go here. But, I mean, you have an institutional knowledge of what the MAC is, okay? And, it's, to me, a shock that Del Val and Stevenson are not even in the real conversation right now. Is your team even surprised? I mean, it's one of those situations for me where, a Misericordia and an Eastern in that conversation, that's even the more shocking part of it, that they've never been in this conversation for obvious reasons with both of your teams. You're basically newer teams when it comes down to it. So are you guys surprised that this is the way it's playing out, and are you going to be opportunistic on it at this point?
So I feel like when we went down to Endicott, or up to Endicott, who's a really good football team, and we hung in there with them, lost by 10 points, we were like, this is a different football team than we've ever had before. We can play with anybody in the conference. Endicott was most likely going to be the best team that we play all year. especially like on our schedule. So we were like, we just knew right then and there that Endicott was the best, and we could play with literally anybody in our conference head to head. And I think it also helps. We knew Eastern was going to be good this year based off last year. That was their second season. They were still pretty good. But we knew with all the – last year there were fifth years on every team, and we had one fifth year. So we knew that we were a young team last season. I believe we were the youngest team in the MAC last year. And a lot of our freshmen and sophomores got a lot of playing time. So we knew this year that we could contend for something.
Gavin, you mentioned, Coach Cushing coming in and setting different standards. One of the advantages he has is he also played there at Misericordia and was a starter on their last team that went to the postseason. He was a starter on their bowl team. Then having a chance to coach at Cortland and going into the national championship game. What are if you were to identify like the three things you talked about, the inputs versus outputs? What are like three things you really think he's brought there and his his understanding of Misericordia as a school and football that have really helped you guys take these steps?
So first thing is that right when he got here, he made us all like do events on campus, help out with whatever we could to build better relationships with our faculty, our fellow classmates, whatever it was. He instantly just made us form new relationships and get a better rep on campus because he's, like you said, he's been here. He knows what you're going through, whether it's academic, whether it's your home life, whatever. He understands that because he was – what better to ask than a person that played on your team? But then, like I said earlier, attention to detail. And then he in years past, it was more like an offense versus defense. But this year, we're just one whole team, and we're just like a family at the end of the day. And that's what he wanted, and that's what winning teams do. Coming from Cortland, he knows what winning teams do. And, yeah.
Has he used the idea that 2 years ago a Cortland team came out of nowhere to win a national championship, and why not Misericordia in that whole idea of it? Because I think a lot of East Region coaches have done that, or the former East Region, whatever you want to call this now, in this area of the country. But I mean, has he focused on the idea that, hey, why not? Why not us? And not just a MAC championship, but even going further out than just that.
I wouldn't say he's focused on what he did at Cortland and tried to bring it here, not like that, but he definitely believes in our coaches and ourselves, like that we can do whatever we can if we play to our potential. And our goal is just to go 1-0 because we've seen many teams go 5-1, 6-1 in the MAC, and then lose out because they just get too high on their horse. So we're just trying to focus on 1-0 every week. And if we do that and play to our potential, we can win the MAC, but that's in the future, and we're just trying to go 1-0.
Gavin, one of the things you kind of brought up is that, moving the team on from that offense versus defense. And about 20 years ago, I had to do that at the institution that I'm at. It takes leadership from both sides of the ball. It takes, the defensive leaders and the offensive leaders to be the ones to really to drive that. A coach can talk about it, but the players are the ones that have to live it, especially if one side of the ball has been playing better than the other early in the season. What do you think were the key conversations you had with your peers to make that type of thing happen?
Well, so right when we were on the interviewing process for all the coaches, and right when Coach Cushing sat down, he said, why do you think you guys have been not winning games? And we said that. He instantly laid out a plan before he was even our coach, and we tried some of the things, like we went out to dinner, we went to movies, went bowling, went to the fair, this and that. Like we just did things that we wouldn't do before as a whole team, like whether it was the linebackers and the running backs getting together, the linebackers and the quarterbacks, the D-line and the O-line, whatever it was. We just got groups together and we would all hang out, do different things together. And especially with doing things on campus together, that definitely helped because we just formed bonds that will last forever, and we know we can trust each other at the end of the day.
That's amazing. That
I think, Frank, that's something he just gave every young coach a tutorial on something that is really important when they become head coaches, that if the program has that extra time out away from the team together, intermixing the groups and finding ways to do that is one of the most important things for creating a really strong team culture that is not results-based and can prevent that kind of going against each other. So, Gavin, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. That amazing that the culture can have that kind of change. I mean, I've heard it before, but to see it work to that degree, because it's worked. Come on, there's no way you can't pin it on that. As Gavin's pointing out, it's incredible, and Coach, credit to him for doing that. So, tell us about Eastern. You watched the film. This is a team that people don't know much about out there because not many people have watched all that much Eastern football. And so they want to be kind of the Misericordia of its day here and sort of take you off the throne. But tell us about who they are offensively, especially since that's the game film you're watching. And what do you have to be careful of when you play a game against a team like Eastern?
I would say everybody just has to do their job and everything will fall into place. But they're a great team. Their offense is really good. They have a very good run game. Their quarterback has just as many rushing yards as their running back, which is pretty impressive. Their O-line's big. Their receivers are physical. They're well coached, great team. So I'm really excited for the game. It'll definitely be a physical game, so I'm pretty excited.
Gavin, one of the things last year, you took a big production increase. You went from, I think, 50-something tackles your sophomore year to like 100-something a year ago. Mm-hmm. Who's somebody on your team now that has kind of taken that same kind of stride and is helping, be a catalyst for your team's success this year, where maybe they were unknown a year ago but are somebody we should all be paying attention to this year?
So we've had Keystone transfers due to them shutting down or in the midst of shutting down. I would definitely say sophomore corner. They're all sophomores, which is interesting. But so sophomore corner at Malcolm Roy, I feel like in a couple years he will be an All-American. He's a great player. Owen Norman, D lineman, and then Nathan Malarkey. He's a freshman. He was supposed to go to Florida Atlantic, and he's from Dallas, PA. And he was like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm going to go to Misericordia to play football. And then Jordan Chmielewski is safety. They all just stepped into their role, bought in, took the coaching, and yeah, they're great.
So you mentioned transfers, and I know I'm supposed to alternate with you, Frank, but I'm doing some coaching recon here.
You go right ahead.
Hear
Don't worry about it.
You hear about everybody talking about the transfer portal and in Division III. How do you get them to buy into your team culture? And you guys were really, kind of creating that culture as those guys were transferring in. How did you work to, kind of get them to buy into what Misericordia is and not bring, maybe what they were doing at Keystone or another place, things like that? How'd you get them to really buy into who you guys are?
So I always did this since my freshman year. I would get kids to come to the weight room with me on a Saturday morning after whatever you do Friday night, Saturday night. We'd go to the weight room Saturday or Sunday, work out. So this offseason, when the Keystone guys came in, I saw Malcolm, and I saw this kid, another kid, Josh, who went to a high school near me, and I would get a group of guys, probably 10 guys. We'd all go to the weight room down our field house. I would run a workout with them, and it wasn't the fact that they were just there working out with us. It was the fact of knowing that I wanted them to know they could trust me no matter what, and just being there. That's just all I needed. They didn't have to work out the hardest. They didn't have to do anything the best. It was just a matter of fact of getting familiar with me, getting familiar with our other teammates, and just building a new identity as a team.
Impressive, awesome. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go two in a row, Kat, at this point. First off, Gavin, you're listed as a senior. I believe you've played all 4 years for your eligibility. So what's next for you after, football, college football is done? Is coaching in your future? Because you do have some good coach speak when you talk with us. That's clear, and I think Kat would agree with me on that. So what is next for you career-wise and football-wise?
So Coach Cushing has been saying I'm going to coach or to come coach, but right now I don't know about that. I think I know what I'm doing first. So right out of college, I'm going to try to get a job in pharmaceutical sales or medical device sales. So that's my goal. And then maybe once I, do it for a couple of years, get bored, I'll go into coaching on the side. But right now that's my focus.
Well, best of luck on that journey that you're about to embark on. You still got a lot to go before that, though, this season. And we're going to give you the opportunity for shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, etc., including those that prefer Wendy's over Burger King and McDonald's. Gavin Morris, the floor is yours for shout-outs.
I would like to shout out my mom, my dad, Heather and Phil Morris, and then my Uncle Paulie. He's at every game no matter what, and my little cousin Jacob. So, and of course all my teammates. So, there.
Uncle Paulie and cousin Jacob. I like that. Going through the extended family when they show you that kind of loyalty, that's the best right there, for sure. So
they're at every game.
Man, I'm so happy for you because one of the things we assumed once we lost the fifth year phenomenon, after COVID and everything, is that we'd have a complete return to the normalcy of who the front runners were along the way before COVID. To see teams that are able to transcend it still with just 4 classes is honestly, it gives us a lot of hope that this ain't going to be the same old thing every year, now that we're back to the normal 4. And to see Misericordia and Eastern being a headline game is for sure a great sign, I think, for the future of our Division III college football. So thanks to your team for giving us a little bit of hope in that respect, and may the best team win tomorrow. Gavin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You got it. Gavin Morris, Misericordia. Kat, I think you joined me in the idea that the loss of the fifth year meant that we're going to have the same normalcy thing from, pre-COVID days. And, we've seen some of it, okay, that the teams that you would expect, the North Centrals and the Mount Unions, seem to still be the front runners. But, the WEAC's still killing each other out there. The MAC is, a weird amalgamation of teams that we never assumed. The Liberty League, Hobart kind of fell out this year, but it's still RPI Union and Ithaca going at it in that conference. The SAA has some new names going, toward the top. UMHB struggling to kind of get their identity right now. So it feels like we didn't necessarily just return back to normalcy here. Maybe we've done some permanent changing in that process. What's your take on it in terms of post-COVID now with what the effects are?
Yeah, I don't know if it's permanent or not. We'll see that in probably 5 to 10 years. But, there are cyclical times. And I think that a lot of schools were able to build some success while having their fifth years and having those guys stay in the program a little bit extra. And so were they able to build off that in recruiting? And I think that's one of the things that, when you have a couple of years of success, recruiting becomes a little bit easier. And so some of those teams that were maybe, lower part of their conference who put together a couple 7 and 8 win seasons, even if they didn't get to the playoffs, were they able to build to a better recruiting basement, and foundation to come off of because they're now recruiting to a winning program. And that culture within your team, once you've taught people how to win, they can teach the next generation how to do that. And that's, one of those things that, going through a team that lost 38 seniors a year ago, some of those lessons were strongly embedded in some of the upper class kids, but then the freshmen had to learn it over. And so I think that depending on how those cycles of rosters go, you might see a lasting impact of, a couple of successful seasons where older guys stuck around for an extra year or two, and it meant just a little bit more to them to transfer that down to the younger guys. But whether there's going to be a transfer of power or when that took place, I think that, schools have seen that they can now climb up and compete at different levels, and it does take an investment. So if they give that investment, let's let them have at it. I think it's great for college football.
There is the sign of it, and it sounds like from the culture change, you're feeling like a team like Misericordia with the culture change could be more of a semi-permanent fixture toward the top of these standings if they continue to adopt that culture change and embrace it the way that Gavin discussed it. And why not? At this point, it seems like there's a weirdness going on, and but the ethic of what he brought up there and Coach Cushing brings up all the time, it sounds like it works and is working, and we'll see where it goes for them. And Eastern, that probably has the same thing going on, where they start a program and say, hey, let's do that. Let's kind of make sure we have our culture right off the bat as a program. And here they are facing a game where they're still trying to stay relevant in the standings this season. If they win it, they are very relevant in those standings, obviously. And if Misericordia wins, I believe they have a game in hand that they could lose one and still win the MAC ultimately. So we'll see where it goes. Let's go through some other games coming up this Saturday. Here's the rest of the undercard of Region 1. I should have brought this up earlier, but Amherst at Wesleyan is an important game still in the NESCAC with the way the season's gone. Everything else there, you see Plymouth State going to have that big game against Framingham State later on this season. That's going to be kind of the indicator game. So let's see if they look past a team like Westfield State, who's 2-4, 2-3 this season. Region 2, Carnegie Mellon at Muhlenberg is a big game, but JB and I kind of went off the board on this a little bit. Cortland at St. John Fisher, a huge game coming up, and I had to choose, unfortunately, not to go to that one because I'm going to be in the New York City mode and reffing an NFL flag event on Sunday, so I kind of needed to be more New York City based. Otherwise, that would have been the game I went to. But Salisbury-Rowan is a great game in and of itself because of the NJAC implications. Union at Ithaca. Ithaca has won their games lately, no doubt, Kat, but Union has won their games in the Liberty League too after two very tough games to start the season against Susquehanna and Cortland, and it looks like they've learned from that. So this could be a very interesting matchup at Butterfield Stadium. Westminster at Grove City is a big pack game with W&J at the top of the heap. Who's going to stick around there close enough to still have input in that conference? And F&M at Ursinus. Look, F&M is 3-0 in their conference, and they still have to play Johns Hopkins. We'll see where that goes. Again, if you had to pick a game of the week out of these 6, which one would you pick?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go to the Cortland St. John Fisher game. I got to know both coaching staffs in different components. Paul Schaffner is part of the Cortland staff, was the guy who gave me my first job at Glenville State back in the day. And I got to know Ed Raby when he was an assistant at Allegheny. And, to see what he's done both at Morrisville and then now at St. John Fisher, as a young coach, I guess he's probably not young anymore, but to see some of the things that he's been doing, I've been really, really impressed with his career path. And that's just a game that is going to give some indicators of where they are and kind of give them a measuring stick.
Undercard of Region 2, there's plenty of games here, and Region 2 is the longest region we've got because of the addition of the landmark back when and some other stuff that's gone on along the way. Some snoozers per se, although we thought that last week going into the week that we had a bunch of snoozers. We ended up with all these close, exciting games and undefeateds falling left and right and everything else. So you really can't read into too much, just by records anymore when it comes down to things here. Let's go to Region 3. Huntington-LaGrange. There's another case of where did LaGrange come from? When we're focusing on them on crunch time, they wanted to know when we were going to release the show to make sure that they got to see it because they don't get that, very often where that whole thing is happening in that way. Millsaps Berry coming up, and that's going to be, an interesting game for sure. But Berry, you would think, is not going to look past this Millsaps team. Berryville obviously had their troubles last week against Millsaps and fell out of the undefeated ranks because of that. Roanoke, Hampton-Sydney, interesting game because Hampton-Sydney we thought was going to be undefeated in the conference up to that Randolph-Macon game. It didn't happen, and here's this upstart Roanoke team. We'll see if they can have any input there. Again, you got 3 games to choose from. Which one?
Man, I'm going to go to the Berry Millsaps game. Millsaps coming high off that win last week, and Valhalla is a great place for a college football game on a Saturday. So I'm sneaking over there to see what goes with that one. I think there's a really good challenge there for both teams. I think that Coach Konchesky down at Berry is a guy that I got to know on the national committee, and he's always going to have his team ready without going over the top emotionally. He's going to keep them contained emotionally, and I think that will help them prepare for this Millsaps game.
A little late to you there, sorry about that, but nonetheless, we're going to look at the undercard here for a quick second. Southern Virginia is still trying to pull some stuff out here, and it's a big game for them in the USA South. Maryville Southwestern, our friend Zach Vargas, who's joining us to do picks later on, he's going to be attending that game, I believe, and that's a big game right now in terms of is Maryville going to be able to bounce back from the loss? So we'll be looking at that one for sure. Howard Payne, UMHB. I like to see who UMHB is against a team like Howard Payne that's exceeded expectations this season. I don't know, to be honest. And if it's a close game, it's going to tell us a lot about UMHB. and how this season's affected them ultimately. We got two more on the back page here. McMurray at Centenary and Lyon at Hendricks. That Hendricks loss to TLU at the very end of the game was an incredible ending of a game, but they fell on the wrong side of it last week. Continuing, I want to show everybody something here, if I can find it in my bag of tricks here. I'll give you something from D3Football.com from 2005, and look at the highlighted game there. This is Ohio Northern's list of games in 2005, so 20 years ago this week. Mount Union lost to Ohio Northern. They've only lost two conference or regular season games in the last 20 years, and this was one of them. John Carroll in 2016, I believe it was the other. So, Ohio Northern comes into this game 5-1, 5-0. Mount Union 6-0, 4-0. We saw Mount Union struggle in the first half against Baldwin-Wallace. Ohio Northern, I think they're going to play kind of, to put it lightly, balls out in this game because why not? And this could be an interesting game. Mount Union has underperformed in the first halves this season, it feels like. And this is a game where I don't think they can underperform in that first half. We'll see where it goes. As I said, DePauw, Denison had that impressive come-from-behind win last week versus Wittenberg, and that cost Wittenberg a head coach possibly as he was shown the door mid-season, which you hate to see, honestly, in Division III, but they have their reasons, I'm sure, for doing it. Hope at Adrian, a huge game in the MIAA as Adrian looks for that collision course with Alma down the line, ultimately. 3 games, pick one.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Hope Adrian. I think that Coach Sturzman, Hope's had his team playing in playoff mode ever since the controversial overtime ending against Alma. They've been playing really well. Adrian, kind of on their return to prominence with a 6-0 record for the first time in a while. That's another one that I think those two games, those two teams are going to have a heck of a fight on Saturday. So I think that'd be a great game to attend.
Yeah, Sturzman deserves a lot of credit for getting his team refocused after that debacle of ref call and everything else. Talked with him the next week, and he said, I literally made them turn the page on Monday after things were said and done when you couldn't turn back on that game, and he's got the right philosophy. Great guy, Coach Sturzman, and it was a pleasure to talk with him that day. I got the opportunity to. Other games here, Trine Calvin, a battle of 4-2 teams. Again, Calvin at 4-2 is another amazing story this season, even though they may have lost a game or two here that in the late portions of this season so far. They're still amazing at 4-2. Heidelberg Muskingum could be interesting after Muskingum's big win against Marietta, who plays Baldwin-Wallace on Saturday. And I honestly think Baldwin-Wallace is a very, very underrated team out there that did take things to Mount Union for a half of football, and then finally things changed in the second half. But they've got some real good components over there. We'll see how it turns out. Bluffton at Rose-Hulman, the last game in that one. And finally, we're going to get to our guest in a second here, but we'll talk about Region 5 because that is where he hails from. We are going to lose an undefeated team, we believe, this weekend. Central, number 15 in our poll, takes on Wartburg, number 7 in our poll. 7-0 hosting 6-0. And by the way, as you can see, we've added the weather forecast for kickoff now onto all of our slides. And 51 clouds, that's perfect football weather, I would say, for teams like these. So they're going to have a great weather day, I think, in this. And, we'll ask about that Loris game last week. Loris led at halftime against Wartburg Cat. But, Central, Wartburg, I think Wartburg knows what's in front of them. I doubt we're going to see them underperform in the first half, but will that be enough against a great team like Central? We'll find out. Augustana North Central, 5-1, 4-1 Augustana, if they really want to finally step forward in the CCIW, at least performing reasonably well against North Central would be a chance to do it with that win-loss record right now. And a game that you know of, Chicago Grinnell. We'll talk more about the Midwest Conference and some implications later because there's another side to this card as well. Are you joining us on the Central Wartburg train here?
No, I'm going to the Lake Forest Cornell game on the undercard. I got to go watch that one instead. So I think that one on my list, that one's going to take a little bit more priority than those other games in that region.
Okay, but if you weren't coaching in that game and you didn't have a certain allegiance out of those 3 games, I'm going to assume you would have joined us in that one.
Yeah, I would go watch that Central Wartburg game. That's for sure. That's going to be a great game. And again, I think that North Central Augustana game is going to be a good game. But again, we're in this position with North Central where somebody's got to knock them off, and it hasn't been proven to be an easy task yet. So I would love, they're always going to be a competitive game. Coach Bell does a great job down at Augie. Coach Spencer, obviously, we've been close friends, and so really good games out there. But I think that one out in Iowa would be where I think we'll be about an hour and a half away from it. Maybe we'll hear the roar from the stadium while they're playing. So
there you go. Our guest is ready to go, I believe. We'll get his camera and his microphone on and move it along. He's a pro at this. He must have taken notes from his brother who joined us a couple of years ago on this show. And the story always goes like this. JB one time was grabbing pictures for the Glory Trophy semifinalists for me and something. And I JB is really good at what he does. So I didn't spot check it. And instead of grabbing Owen's photo, he grabbed Connor's photo. And so Connor has been apparently a Glory Trophy semifinalist by accident already in his career. Let's see, what he has to say about it. Connor Grover, thank you for joining us on this eve of a huge game between your team and Central. How you doing out there?
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. So, okay, let's talk about last week before we go anywhere about this week. Loris, okay, good team. Their atmosphere, obviously good atmosphere, football. But, Connor, it was eyebrow-raising for a lot of people that the halftime score is 14-6 or something along those lines, or 13-6, whatever it was. I think it was a touchdown. And, what was said at halftime, and was it a case of maybe your team a little bit, maybe getting caught looking forward to this big game? What happened there, and how did you guys get over the hump for, a lot of unanswered points in the second half?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously not our best game defensively, for sure. The offense obviously turned it on in the second half, but just going back and looking at the film and seeing what we could do better, it was a lot of our fundamentals were pretty off. A lot of break drives messed up, and our tackling was pretty pathetic. So we went back and made those corrections, and just continue to try to improve on those things. Spent a lot of focus area and on practice here this week, trying to get better at those things. So at halftime, we knew we had to get back to what we do. Make those tackles that we know we can make, and trust our other guys. Use our leverage-based tackling, and just go out there and play the way that we knew how to play. And we knew the offense would get going. We just had to get the ball back to them as many times as we can. We didn't do a great job of that in the first half. So. Yeah, came away with the win, which is great, but we knew that we had a lot to improve on. So hopefully made those corrections this week and be firing on all cylinders tomorrow. So.
Connor, I got a chance to watch your guys' first game of the year against Monmouth and our scout of that team. And, what would you say is the biggest change as you guys were having some younger guys play from that first week to now, and where you think, especially on the defensive side, you guys have continued to have great success, but what do you think's been the biggest growth for you guys from week 1 to now?
Yeah, I would say it's just our trust in each other. We've gotten to the point, we're eight weeks in now, or 7 weeks in, and on our 8th week, and especially on the defensive side, we trust each other. We know that we're going to have 10 other guys running the ball. If we're missing with our leverage, we're going to we're going to have guys come and make us right, make our tackles right. We also really know our job, and we don't play super complicated coverage-based defense. It's pretty straightforward, and a lot of times the offense knows what we're doing, but we don't care. We're just going to play within our fundamentals. We're going to trust the guys around us, and we're going to trust the call, and we're going to go out and play fast, play physical, and do our best and not be afraid of making mistakes, which is a pretty cool thing. It allows you to play free, play fast, and just go out and do your best, which has been something that we've continued to improve upon and hopefully continue to improve upon.
How do you guys handle that piece of being able to play free without worrying about making mistakes, within your team set, within your player-to-player personality, when the guy does make the mistake? How do you handle that as a team leader? again, Frank knows I'm using this as coaching research time more than anything else. How do you make those guys comfortable making a mistake and knowing that you'll have their back?
Yeah, for sure. It's just all about like picking each other up. Mistakes are going to happen. It's an imperfect game. So being able to just go pick that guy up, have his back, and be like, yeah, we got you, and trust that he's going to make a play coming up, and that he will. We got guys that make plays, which is pretty cool, and being able to play with those guys is awesome. And I also know that, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes at times, and I know that they're going to have my back and they're going to pick me up, and as long as I just continue to get back to my spot and play the next play, those plays are going to present themselves to you. You're going to have opportunities to make plays. So just trusting that those guys are going to, pick you up and do the same for them. It's pretty cool, especially with guys that you love and guys that, you're best friends with. You can let each other hear it at times. You can hold each other accountable for sure. And we'll do that. We know that comes out of a place of love. So at times that happens, but it's really just picking each other up and, playing the next play.
Okay, Connor, Kat's question is maybe expedite what I want you to watch right now. I want to show you a video from last week in Wartburg at Loris. Here we go.
A team that was receiving votes in UW Stout.
Intercepted by the Knights, and they're taking it down the sideline. Rickman, last duo to make the play. And he does! A touchdown saving tackle by quarterback Jacob Rickman.
Pass is intercepted by Connor.
You're shaking your head. You know what's coming. How the hell did you let the quarterback tackle you? How did you not outrun this quarterback? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Great INT, by the way. Great job getting the INT and getting about 70 yards down the field. But, what happened there?
That's tough. That's a tough look. It's got to unhook the plow there. Got to run away with that one. Cut back or do something. Yeah, I got a lot of crap for that one on film for sure. So
that was going to be my question. Okay,
did Owen Grover
perhaps give you some crap on that one? And how's he doing, by the way? What's he up to these days?
He was pretty good about it. He was worrying about his own stuff. I think he wasn't. Yeah, I don't. He didn't give me too much, so I was thankful for that. It was good though. Yeah, got enough from the teammates and coaches, which was pretty deserved. So,
what's Owen doing for those that don't know?
Owen's actually in med school at Iowa City, and he's also helping coach Regina High School, which is a local high school. He's coaching the LBs there, so he's been pretty busy for sure.
Kat, as you know, they're lucky to have him at Regina High School coaching LBs because he was a phenomenal player, deserving of all the kudos he got. But Connor's obviously doing a great job himself. Kat, what do you got for him?
Yeah, Connor, when you chose Wartburg, was it an easy choice with your brother having his, kind of at that point had cemented his legacy there, or did you look at some of the other Iowa schools? I would assume if you did, Central was probably one of them. What were some things that, kind of led to your decision, as a sibling? Some guys want to have that, want to go and play with their sibling. Others are kind of like, yeah, I want to carve my own path. And sometimes you can carve your own path at the same place. So how did you, come to that decision making?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. To be honest, I really didn't look anywhere else. If I was going to go play football, I was going to be at Wartburg. After knowing and seeing Owen and his experience, I loved it and really love just the atmosphere that, Waverly brings, and just the care and support that we get from the community is awesome. I looked at like Iowa State just to be a student, and I wanted to keep playing football. So Wartburg is really the only place that I really truly looked at to play football, and no regrets about it. And I love this place, and I love the people that it's brought me, and it's been super special. Obviously, occasionally it's challenging trying to cement your own legacy, but it's been nothing but amazing things here for sure.
Good. Well, as much as Frank wanted to teach you a little bit about that interception return, I know every coach you've ever had has told you to keep it to the sideline, and so you got to get a little help on the block on that guy so you can do what the coach has told you. So I won't give you crap on that one.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
There you go. You got a renowned coach in the Midwest giving you the kudos, and it's deserved. Like I said, that was a great job. I couldn't resist on that one when I was putting crunch time together this week. I'm like, oh, Connor, come on, Connor, get to the house. Anyway, let's look at what's in front of you guys. Let's take a serious moment here because this is the big game. One thing that stands out to me, Connor, as we look at the standings, this is your 8th game in 8 weeks. You have not had a bye, which is unique. There are only a few teams left out there that I think have not had their byes. And, how does it affect your team? How are you guys? Are you running on fumes? Are you banged up beyond, maybe what other teams are able to get back on the field after a bye week? I'm not trying to give you guys excuses for anything here in advance. But, I mean, how does it affect you guys having 8 straight right at this start of the season? And, tell us about Central. What are you watching out for most against a great team like Central here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, there's no excuses. We don't really care about when our bye week is. If you can't get up for this game, then you're doing something wrong. We know that. We do. I mean, every week is a championship week for us because, we put ourselves in that position. But obviously Central's a great team. But we know what we have to do to go out there and get a win. Guys are feeling good. Guys are healthy, which has been awesome. So hopefully keep that going. But, yeah, Central's super dynamic offense. I don't really know much about their defense, but offense, super dynamic. They'll get the ball in space. They'll move it around. Got some big, tall receivers. Got some athletic running backs. So we know that, we just continue to play our type of football. And what's brought us success here these past 7 weeks, we can do pretty well. We just have to stay within our fundamentals and do the things that we know how to do, which is break, drive with the football, tackle well in space, and trust the other 10 guys out there just to make plays. So it'll be a great game. We're looking forward to it for sure. Should be fun.
And this game, I mean, this has been kind of the conference, either this game or one with Co has kind of determined the conference championship each of the last couple of years. And, it looks like Central has a pretty dynamic quarterback who's their second leading rusher, as well as, doing a great job passing the football. Does that change anything you guys do in your crush front or to address that? Or do you guys just kind of attack it the same as you would any other opponent?
It's pretty similar. We do to every other opponent. We got some pretty athletic D linemen, and we know that they'll get the job done up there for sure. So just on the back end, just staying within our job, doing our 1/11th, whatever that may be, whether it's in that deep third or in the flat or spinning down or whatever it may be, or man to man on a guy. Just doing our job because we know those guys up front, they get to the quarterback and they're all a bunch of mean guys who will do their job, which is pretty nice on the back end to have that, those guys up there be able to get some pressure. Makes my job a lot easier. So now pretty straightforward and keep the thing rolling.
Well, as you keep it rolling, obviously you're getting to a point where you've got to worry about the next step like Owen had to at some point in your career, and whether or not you're going to continue in football coaching-wise or anything else for that matter. Connor, what's next for you?
Yeah, Frank. The plan's to go to PT school. So I'm in at a couple places, and I'll wait on one here to decide where I'm going for sure. But that's the plan here. I'll graduate here in December, and then just work for a little while, and then go to PT school after that. So should be good.
Any chance you're going to be coaching high school, for the defensive backs at some point?
If the opportunity presents itself somewhere, and I can handle the workload of school and doing that, that'd be something I'd be definitely willing to do for sure.
So right into in the huddle, if you're a high school in the Midwest that needs a defensive back coach, who's of high quality out there, and he might be able to bring a special guest linebackers coach with him from time to time to come visit as well. So you'll get your money's worth, folks, for that. But Connor, as you know, we give a chance for shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, etc., perhaps brothers playing or brothers in med school and stuff like that. So Connor Grover, the floor is yours for shout-outs. Go right ahead.
Yeah, you bet. Obviously, just all my teammates, my brothers. Love you boys. Get after it tomorrow. I've got Regina's got their first playoff game here coming up. So big game tonight. Wish those boys luck. Obviously, my parents, all my brothers, family members. Appreciate you guys. Love your support. Love you guys. So.
Awesome. Well, send Owen Grover our best when you get a chance, because we do have great memories of having him on the show and everything else. And Connor, you've paved your own way. You've set your own, cement into the Wartburg football, legacies and everything else there. And so feel proud of what you've accomplished here as well. And I'm excited to see how this matchup turns out tomorrow, because first off, that means that we're going to have only 9 undefeateds left, and maybe less by the end of the week, which tells you a lot about the state of college football right now. So the team left standing tomorrow is going to have a really prime spot, most likely, for the word that I'm not supposed to mention out loud. Coach Winter probably is going to be mad at me for saying playoffs, but it's true. You're a playoff-worthy team. Central's a playoff-worthy team. There's no doubt here, and we'll see how this turns out. Best of luck to both teams. Best of luck to you tomorrow.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Connor Grover, folks. Just the Grover boys, both of them, they're men now, I probably should say, have really, like I said, paved their own way, both separately, and had such great influence on that defense. You hear him talk about the fact that they gave up some points to Loris, and, he give credit to the offense last week, but they still didn't give away a crap load of points last week. That's the pride about Wartburg. If we go back here for a second here, if I can find it on my screen, the number of points given up by that defense is 7-0-13, 7-3, 7-20, and who knows, without looking deeper into it, if it wasn't a pick six or something like that for a couple of those that the defense had no effect over. But, giving up 20, yeah, it's a Loris, not what you want to do, but the fact that they gave up before that 37 points in 6 games, Kat, I think most teams in this country would say they would want a defense like that every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the hallmark of a great defense, that we might give up a yard, but we don't want to give up points. And I think that that's something you hear from them. And, maybe that the record of Loris contributes to their feeling of disdain for giving up those extra points. But again, it's still a college football team with college coaches putting game plans together. And so I think that, when you hear that from him, that's a great sign and testament to the pride that they have in what they want to do. So, sorry for the
your dog's
300
excited.
Pounds of dogs walking behind me. I think the other part is, I got to find a way to get him into Northwestern University's PT school so he can come coach for me. I don't want to let him go to a high school. I'll take him at Lake Forest. So I think that, you see that tradition in a way of carving out his own path and knowing that. But knowing you heard him say it was the only school he was going to look at for football. And that's a testament to Wartburg's coaches and their program, that when you're a younger sibling and you get to watch your older sibling there and you see how it's rewarding for them and all the relationships and things that go into that, for them to choose a school right away, that's a great recruiting pitch for Wartburg right there.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's go back, finish up the games coming up here this weekend. And you did point out you've got Cornell you'll be visiting, so I can't hold you too much longer. We'll get this show rolling. Concordia is a big game, just in terms of it's Concordia, Wisconsin on the road. They've been cardiac way too many times this season. And Concordia, Chicago is not a bad team at all. And so this could be one of those games where Concordia, Wisconsin goes down early and can't come back from it type of situation. We'll see how that plays out. On the next page, I wanted you to give your thoughts here to the degree you can. Knox at Lawrence. We have talked about it, obviously, on Twitter, that Lawrence had to cancel the game, obviously due to roster shortages / condition of players situation. Lawrence, a proud program, clearly, and they have some history to them of success. This is obviously a moment they don't want to be in, but they're going to try to bounce back. What are your thoughts? As I know the head coach you're friends with, he was your DC and went over to there.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Gonzaga this week, and not only was he my defensive coordinator here at Lake Forest last year, he was my defensive coordinator as a player in college. And so, they made a very late coaching change in late part of the spring. Coach Gonzaga started up there June 1st, so there wasn't really an opportunity to recover a recruiting class. So for him, he knew there was going to be a tough year this year, and kind of referring to this as year zero in the rebuild, to try and get everything right. The players that he has have been tough. They've been grinding out games despite their potential lack of numbers. But it really turned into this week them just not having enough linemen to go into the game. He's hoping he gets some of those guys back over the week, through pretty intensive physical therapy over the week. They're not surgical, but they're the course of the season we lose guys, and I think that for them not having that next player available. For the safety of the rest of their players, they really had to take this pause, and they handled it the right way. It's not something you want to see, but they did try to play. They're trying to play as many of these games as possible. They know they have a game, the last week of the season that is, one of the 7th longest standing rivalries in the country, and they just need to find. They're trying to get through the season, but they couldn't risk their players' health more than what they were, and so hopefully this week gives them a chance to recover a little bit and get themselves back. But we'll see how that goes. I know he and his coaching staff and players were not happy about the decision, but it was the right decision.
Agreed. And you look next to it, Monmouth at Beloit. Beloit has had their share of issues over time, I think, as well. Grinnell as well in your conference. And at the heart of it, it comes down to the idea that these schools still value football enough to want to keep these programs alive, despite some of the problems they've run into or some of the lack of success lately scenario. Oberlin probably one of those schools as well out there that has, I believe, played 12-minute quarters at certain points this season. I think we need to refocus the narrative a little bit and say it's important that they're still trying to play the game of football, regardless of how it's getting done. And, with the bumps in the road and the hurdles like this that Lawrence is facing, they're still valuing football at these institutions enough to keep these programs alive. Because remember, Occidental had this type of issue, and they nixed the damn thing. Soon after it looked like they were rebuilding effectively, they nixed the program. Let's hope that nobody nixes any programs as a result of things like this. And
I think that's one of the things you can say about Lawrence is they had a complete renovation, new locker rooms, they did the Banta Bowl where they play. They probably put $5 to $7 million into renovating that stadium to build it. They're currently in the process of building some other facilities on their campus that I think will continue to help. They were kind of on the up under a previous coach, and then there was a coaching change, and they kind of dropped down in their numbers on the roster. And that's the thing you saw Beloit. Their numbers had dropped down. Coach Sankson came in, and now Coach Langhoff. They built the roster up. They just have to kind of get that foundation to serve for that next piece to catch up to some other people. But I do think that, Grinnell came back with, from where they were at by taking that year. I think that Lawrence will recover from this. I think Coach Gonzaga is a tremendous recruiter. I think that there is a lot to sell about the city of Appleton and what they're trying to do. And so hopefully with some consistency and continued support from their administration, they can make that turn.
Well said. Region 6, here's a game. What's your thoughts on what Jack Curtis did this season so far with the chemotherapy? He got through his last treatment. Obviously still has an uphill battle. It's not over yet, but at least he's gotten over that hurdle, which is a huge hurdle for him, and still, put together a 5-1, 5-0 record so far before obviously an up in class and competition. St. John's is by far their toughest opponent aside from Whitewater at the start season. So since that Whitewater game, it's been a little easier going for them. Now St. John's, then Bethel a little bit as well coming up. But your thoughts on Jack Curtis alone?
That's the story we should be talking about everywhere in the country. I mean, everybody, I don't want to hear about Auburn versus Alabama. I don't want to hear about Georgia versus, Ole Miss. I want the story of Jack Curtis to be told everywhere, because this is what is truly a special story of a college athlete that we should be celebrating. It's something that we should be working to continue to sell. I can't use the word other than celebrate. This is one of the greatest stories in college football in the last 8 to 10 years. If he was playing at a Division I school, there'd be hour-long episodes on ESPN about it. And what he's been able to do at the level he's been able to do it, truly a special season for him. Kudos to him. Coach Jernell finding a way to support him up there and help him through this season and the support of his teammates. Again, it's one thing to say he's playing, right? It's another thing when you consider he's completing 74% of his passes with 21 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in a very competitive league. Like, that's not just going out and getting through the games. He's playing at an extremely high level, leading his team to great success. And so, again, kudos to him and his teammates. And again, just one of the best stories of the year for me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said it, because you're right. If it was a D1 story, it would be out there. But he's treated the situation like a professional, go beyond just college, the maturity and everything else to handle this, and the ability to have the fortitude to get through this the way he is. I couldn't. I'm just going to flat out say it, and I said it before. I could not do this. Even if I had quarterbacking skill, there's no way I would be able to do it. And even at 22, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So kudos to Jack Curtis for setting a standard out there for folks that if they ever face this, God forbid, they realize it is not a death sentence, or B, even a sentence to say that you can't continue doing what you love. Kudos to his doctors as well for sort of allowing this to play out. And we'll see how it goes. Even Jim Glardy yesterday was talking about just how impressive this situation is. Obviously, they will try their best to beat him on Saturday, but they do respect what he's done. Everybody in football respects what he's done so far and continues to do. Platteville at Whitewater, number 8 versus number 13 in our poll, 5-1 versus 5-1. This is where the WEAC starts getting a little funky. And in my NPI tool that I'll show in a little bit for a quick second, if you take things out to everybody with the better NPI winning this rest of the season and the 460-ish games left here, only 3 teams likely make the playoffs from the WEAC, which is surprising because we've all been talking about the possibility of getting 4 in, 1 plus the 3 Pool C bids, the Pool A bid and Pool C. So games like these matter because it's going to begin to influence if it's 3 teams or 4 teams, or hey, a third team could fall out if the conditions are right, and Stout and Eau Claire and Stevens Point start making some noise on teams that they're not necessarily supposed to beat here. So keep your eye on games like these. Big game at Whitewater. The perk is going to be booming probably. 45 degrees and cloudy at kickoff. So it'll be cool, but it's going to be warm in terms of the 20,000 that show up for this game, keeping each other pretty warm there. Whitworth at Lewis and Clark, huge game in the NWC after the Linfield loss that Whitworth imposed. Okay, you got to pick one of these 3 games. This is a tough one between especially 2 of them, I think. Who do you pick?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to go to the Platteville-Whitewater game because this does put a second loss on somebody's radar. I also think that Oshkosh-Wisconsin lacrosse game is one that may tell us even more, because if that gets Oshkosh their 3rd loss, that probably knocks them out. But if lacrosse picks up a second loss, that starts to speak into what you're talking about with that total chaos that can be created by some of the other teams as they play each other. I just think it's going to be really hard for a 3-loss team, regardless of their strength of schedule and things like that, to get into the tournament. It can happen. There's mathematical ways for it to happen, but I think that even for some of these stronger teams, that 3rd loss may be the end of the playoff hopes at that point.
Let me see. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it at this point, so we'll just go with this. But I will tell you that one of the factors of the whole thing I was talking about was Oshkosh getting that 3rd loss, and for everybody that thought that they were shooing at 3 losses, they would be right on the cusp of being out with 3 losses, even though they've had that schedule from hell this season. So that'll be the interesting thing, because remember, they do lack a game in Division III because they played Roosevelt, which is the non-D3 team, and so it has no effect in their NPI stats out there. Last but not least here, in terms of other games in Region 6, Redlands, Cal Lutheran, interesting. Claremont, Mud Scripps, Chapman's a big game, obviously, in the SCIAC as they begin to determine who's going to be in their championship game come Week 11, so only 3 weeks left before that happens out there. And Crown, look at Crown having that season at 4-2, 4-0 this season. And Northwestern Minnesota having an off year here, but here's a chance for them to maybe bite back. Ultimately, Cat, we'll see what happens there. Last things here, Zach Vargas can't join us, unfortunately, having internet issues for when we do our predictions coming up here in a second. Also, I can't show it this second on here, but the NPI tool that we did release, if you go to D3FBHuddle.com/NPI.html, you can find basically a tool where you can predict all 460 remaining games currently, and it will automatically pick the better NPI teams to win all the remaining games. But you can change that and run the analysis to find out what the MPI should look like if those situations happen. I think it's going to be an invaluable tool, especially in Week 11 as we approach it, for people to see what could happen, what their prospects are in MPI. We'll update everything on Sundays from here on out and test to make sure that we're matching the NCAA MPI before going to that next step and releasing the tools update every week. So get out there, see what your team looks like in MPI. Cat, I ran 4 wins for Lake Forest, and I hate to tell you, it's not happening this season, even with 4 more wins.
Well, I'll tell you what, even with 3 losses, I don't think we belong in there. So I think that if I really believe that a third loss is a disqualifier at points for the playoffs. And so, we had a rough start to our season, so that's not a surprise to me. But I think that, we've still got a lot to play for here, and that's what I'm really excited about. There's a bowl game we still have a chance to get into if we do all the right things. So I want to make sure our guys are focused on that. And again, I think that a third loss team has a lot harder argument trying to get into the tournament at this point than other people, regardless of the schedule they may have played.
Well, the music's in the background. I'm down 5 games to JB. I have his list, but I'm not looking at his list here in terms of who he's picking. But I want you to pick games alongside me. We'll go into snake format here, where I pick, you pick, I pick, basically, and go through these 21 games I think he ended up picking out here for this weekend. So here we go. Let's see if I can get it to work right. There it is. Eastern Misericordia. I'll start here and say home team. I think it goes down to the home team. And, hearing Gavin talk about the culture over there, how doesn't that win you over? I say the Cougars win here by final score of 28-21.
Yeah, having Gavin on the show means we got to pick him, right? That's kind of the way I feel. And so I'm going to go 17-14 in the game.
Next up, Merchant Marine at Springfield. Merchant Marine, inconsistent season, the way things have been playing out, but that big Salve win last week is something. Go ahead, you'll start.
I'm going to take Springfield, and there's going to be 2,000 rushing yards on 200 carries, and we forget about Monty Quinn for a day. But I think that it's going to be Springfield 35-21.
That game will take 90 minutes to play, basically. By the way, JB picked Misericordia. He's picked Springfield, and I picked Springfield, by the way, as well on this one. I just think that at home, Springfield is just so darn tough, and I'm going to give them the 34-31 win. It'll be a good game. I just think that it's going to be the home team here again getting it. Trinity at Bowdoin here. It seems like a layup. I'm going to pick Trinity, but Bowdoin with that big shocking win, maybe they have momentum. Who knows, especially at home. But I'll say Trinity does hold on here, 27-20.
I'm going to go for the upset pick. I'm going to take Coach Hammer and Bowdoin and see if they can pull this one off and build on their momentum from last week. Trinity's got to take that long trip up into Maine on this one, maybe get some bus legs. So let's make it 17-14.
JB picks Trinity. Carnegie Mellon at Muhlenberg. Good luck on this one, bud. You start.
Carnegie Mellon, 21-14. Nothing else to say. I'm just going to go. I've had a chance to see Carnegie Mellon on film, and so I think that they're a really special team. I think Muhlenberg's very good, and I think that this will be a good test. I think Carnegie's going to win it in a one-score game.
The only thing stopping me is I'm hoping that Joey McGinnis is learning to stop with the happy feet, stop with forcing things late in the game, because they should have won that Hopkins game. There's no reason with that lead they had in that Hopkins game that they lost that game. And, keep those drives alive. I think Coach Larson looks back at things that they could have done differently there, too. I think they learn from that. I think they do win, Carnegie Mellon does, over Muhlenberg here, I should say, by a final score of... lower scoring, I think, 24-17 in this one. And JB picked Carnegie Mellon as well. So far, no differences. I'm not going to catch them at this pace. Let's go next to Cortland at St. John Fisher here. They're going to be celebrating Coach Vosberg at halftime, I believe, in this game. There's going to be a lot of emotion in this game. Ed Raby, get me a win. Get me a win that I need here. I'm assuming, he picked Cortland. So I just looked down. Like I said, I'm not looking ahead here, JB. St. John Fisher, I'm going to give the upset to. And I know there's a certain Madon guy out there that's going to be mad at me for this, but I'm going to say Fisher wins 30-24.
I'm going to go with you on the Fisher train. I'm going to go 28-24. Again, honoring Coach Fosberg. There'll be a lot of emotion around the team. I assume a big crowd of his former players coming in to celebrate, and it's one of those games where could the emotion early in the game carry them to a lead and put Cortland in unfamiliar territory, and put the pressure on them on an away game.
Salisbury at Rowan. My invitation to be on the sideline may ride on who I pick in this game, but I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, so Shermwood's one of my fraternity brothers, so I'm going to go with Salisbury here. Again, the triple option, letting him do what they do. I'm going to take Salisbury 35, Rowan 24.
What fraternity are we talking?
Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
Phi Gamma Delta, Fiji. So I was hoping maybe there's further brotherhood here. But we could talk about that over beer next year when I see you. How's that?
Sounds good.
Salisbury's going to win this game, but I think Rowan's going to show and give them a hard time in this game. But I'm going to pick Salisbury to win it by a final score of 34-24 going away. Let's see here. Next up is Westminster at Grove City. Grove City's just been in a weird spot, it feels like, this season with the way the season is played out. They had a good game last week, and so I think they're going to be getting their momentum back. This is a rivalry game for sure. These two teams dislike each other on the field, even though they're very Christian schools. They pick that day to dislike each other at least. And I'm going to go with Grove City on this one by a final of 27. I make that 28-21.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Westminster on this one. Quentin Good, their quarterback, is completing about 67% of his passes. They've kind of had a 3 different quarterbacks playing for them. And so depending on who's going to be in the game, you can see a couple of different things, but they're all completing high-level number of passes. And so I'm going to go with them because the unknown of who's going to be in there could create some confusion.
JB picked, just as an FYI, Salisbury and Grove City. Union Ithaca, I think I missed here at some point. Yeah, there it is. So let me go back to it here. Union at Ithaca. Look, I'm going to pick Ithaca at home. My heart wants to pick Union, and if they win it, I'm thrilled for Union, and it changes a lot of what's going on. In fact, the Dutchman Shoes game probably becomes the Liberty League championship game, if I had to guess down the line then. But I'm going to pick Ithaca to win in a low-scoring 13-7 affair.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is going to be low scoring. I'm not sure. This is kind of a coin toss one for me a little bit because I think that Union's 2 losses are against such strong opponents that this is a chance for them to really build on that tough early season schedule. So I'm going to take Union 17-14.
We got to play a little speed round here only because we're getting close to our 10:30 hard stop. So we'll just go a little quicker with Franklin Marshall at Ursinus. Who do you say?
Franklin Marshall, 21-14.
Same here. Ursinus just didn't look very upstart against Johns Hopkins. So Franklin Marshall, 24-21. Franklin Marshall is JB's pick as well. Next up, Huntingdon LaGrange. Why not LaGrange at this point? Yep, LaGrange. Why not? And JB picked LaGrange as well, so I'm still not going to catch him on any of this. Millsaps and Barry. Barry. I don't think they're going to let this one bite them.
Yeah, I think this will be Barry by 2 scores.
Yeah, and JB picked Barry as well. Continuing here, Roanoke at Hampton Sydney. I think they learned their lessons from their loss this season.
Yeah, Hampton Sydney on this one as well.
JB picked Hampton Sydney. Continuing, Ohio Northern, Mount Union, but I would like to see a great game here.
My defense coordinator played and coached at Mount Union.
Good to know. DePaul at Denison. Despite that Denison turnaround last week, I'm going to give it to DePaul here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Angry Tigers. I think DePaul's coming off with a little bit of heat from last week.
And they should. That was a tough one with that lightning delay. DePaul by JB as well. We've got Hope Adrian here. I'm going to say Hope. I think Sturzma has got this team ready and focused at this point.
I think this is Hope by 2 scores, but it is a drive all the way across the great state of Michigan. So, they again, a big trip for them, but I think that they're established.
Interestingly, they're 16 and Adrian's 24 in our poll, because I think a lot of people credit Hope still mentally with kind of the win versus Alma, and that's why it plays out that way, folks. But, it's human at that point, what's going on. Central Wartburg, big game. I will pick Wartburg here. I despite the fact 8 in a row is a tough thing at this phase of the season, Kat. I know they're bumped and bruised and everything else, but I will pick Wartburg here by touchdown.
I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna take Central, and they're gonna have a big special teams play, which they've been prone to do the last couple of weeks to get them I'm gonna make it a 21-20 game.
Didn't you say because Gavin was on the show we had to pick Misericordia, and then we have Connor on the show, and you pick? It's okay, you can do that. JB picked Wartburg with me on this one too. Augustana, North Central by 20.
Yeah, I'm taking North Central on this one as well. Until they're knocked off, they're the top of my chart every week.
So to JB, Chicago Grinnell, Chicago. My kind of town, Chicago is.
Yeah, I think this will be Chicago by 50 plus.
Wow. We'll just keep going on that. Carlton, St. John's. I would love to see Carlton do it. I'm sorry, Johnnies. I love the Johnnies, but the story is just so tremendous, and the reality of the story. But St. John's wins by 2 touchdowns here, 34-20.
Yeah, I think St. John's takes this as well, and by 2 scores.
JB picked it too. We only have one difference so far. Platteville, Whitewater. The hell with it, Whitewater.
Oh,
I looked down and he picked Whitewater too. I thought he was going to pick Platteville at this point, but he's still picking Whitewater.
I'm going to take Platteville. I changed my mind. I'm going to take Platteville. And the reason is, last week they won a game doing something they never do, and they didn't pass the football a lot. They ran the football with the quarterback, and I think that gives them an advantage that is something that maybe is a little bit harder to prepare for.
Their defense, though, also had a big hand in it, too. Haas fumbling that ball to the 1 yard line. They, in sports, might put it in 16, but they score in the next play. That's stuff that, it's not the offensive style for you. That's a defense. Their defense had a great day on that game as things got a little bit more exciting in it. Whitworth at Lewis and Clark. Why not Whitworth after what they do to Linfield? I think I have to pick Whitworth. JB picked Whitworth. We have picked 20 out of 21 games the same today. Who are you picking?
I'm going to take Lewis and Clark coming off the other side of that coin, and Whitworth coming off the high. Maybe this is a letdown game for Whitworth a little bit, and a rebound game for Lewis and Clark.
Kat, normally we go and look at how to watch the weekend. So just quickly here, there are 19 games in the pre-1 o'clock slots tomorrow, and you can see the weather across the board. This is the point where I'm going to tell you, folks, we'll run it on the screen, tell you to pause it if you want to see it. We put the ranked games first, and then we go in order by region in the time slots. You can see the weather, as I said, with everything as well. Looks like it's pretty much just clouds and clearness throughout the country, except for a couple differences later on in like region 3. There are 47 games of the 1 to 2 o'clock slot, meaning 159 being the cutoff there. That includes Ohio Northern, Johns Hopkins, Salisbury Rowan, which I'll be at. So you see those there. Hope Adrian also at 1 o'clock Eastern time. These are all Eastern time starts, don't forget, folks. And also, just going through here with these 47 games, Westminster Grove City's there. So you've got all those games coming up in those spots. The 2 or 3 o'clock slot, or 2:59, is a little bit more sparse. But mainly, you've got games here, the Augustana North Central game, Nelson, Hardin, Simmons. So they have an on D3 game coming up we didn't really talk about. Central Wartburg is in that slot, though, and so is Platteville, Whitewater. So 2 crucial games in that time slot coming up. Carlton, Johns Hopkins, or St. John's. Wow. Carlton, St. John's, and a whole bunch of others there. Oshkosh, La Crosse, you talked about. So a very sweet spot at 2 o'clock for those of you that have the opportunity to watch games there. Some other 2 o'clock games there as well. And then 3 o'clock forward, only 11 games in the 3 to 5 o'clock time gap, and that includes DePaul, Denison. And then finally, the 5 o'clock and later slots, which is not just the West Coast games this go around. Brevard Greensboro is a night game, and McMurray Centenary you see there. So there you go. That's how things line up. Give you the last chance here for any thoughts, shout-outs, or whatever else. Go right ahead. You have a minute.
Good luck to the Lake Forest High School Scouts field hockey team in the state quarterfinals on Saturday. If I don't do that, I might get in trouble from the wife. So we'll make sure we give them luck.
The best head coach in the Catanzaro household is his wife in the field hockey realm. Best of luck to her and her team. Kat, thanks for joining me here. Phenomenal job as always. JB, you're fired. Now we got JC as our permanent co-host. That's the way we'll work it. Good luck against Cornell. Safe travels. And folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you throughout the weekend on Twitter and then on Crunch Time, hopefully around Tuesday. We're trying to get it back there. We got a lot of announcements coming up about our show. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you soon.